Hi and welcome to CyberOne Certification and Training. If you're here for training today but you're interested in learning more about our certification program and how you can become qualified as a CyberOne expert, then you can reach out to your account manager if you're a client or just email us at support@cb1security.com and we'll get you enrolled in the certification program. Okay, so let's get started today. We're looking at our tabs menu again today, and we're going to be focused on the control library. This is where we break out all of the content from the different regulations, standards, and requirements that you have in your system so you can begin to do your governance or compliance work. Okay, so let's get started by going into the application. And here I am on application platform. And again, today I'm in the policy management module. I can select my different modules from this drop-down menu here. And I'm going to be focused on the control library tab. Now again, the control library tab features in the policy management module, but it can be accessed at any time from any module using this plus sign to access the full tabs menu. So let's get into our control library tab for now and take a quick look. So you can see that here we have, if we look at our drop-down menu first, all of the different regulations that we've got broken out into control sets here. We're looking at GDPR, and you can create these views for these different controls just by going to create new view, and you can add the control that you're looking for. Here are the different fields that you can see, and then you would just click save. I'm going to cancel out. And again, similarly with these existing records, if there's additional information that you don't see here that you'd like to see, just go into that edit section and you can search for it here in our fields section and just add it or remove it and add others as needed. Okay, and then just click save. So there are a number of functions we can complete on the list view page. So first we can create a new control library just by clicking new and adding those controls in, or we can begin to create our internal control sets simply by selecting the different controls that we want to look for, and then just doing add to internal control. So for example, if we go to our internal control set here, and so here we're looking at CIS CSC 7.1, and we've only got one internal control here. So if we want to do a quick internal control add, one way to do this, rather than creating those controls cold and then mapping them back, is to go to our CIS control library, and then we can just add, we've added this first one already, so then I'm just going to grab these others. Let's say we're going to add all of our inventory and control hardware assets and create those as internal controls. See, I just did a shift and select all there by just clicking on the lowest record that I want to take, or you can click them individually to select or deselect them. And you can also do this across multiple pages as well, and it will keep a record of all of the controls that you've selected. Now I just go to add to internal control. Gives me an option to review, make sure I've got everything, and this will also tell me if I'm creating duplicates that are already exist in our internal control set. Now I just click add, and then if I go back to my internal controls tab, now you'll see that we've got all of our inventory and software asset internal controls here. So this is one way for you to start off the internal control process, and then obviously from here you would go into your internal control record and customize this language to your company requirements. But the great thing about this is then that actual regulation is already mapped to your internal control. Okay, so then going back to the control library for a second. The other thing we can also do is make sure that our controls are mapped to our assessments by adding these to the question library. So I know we have a privacy assessment in here, so I'm just going to go to CCPA, or actually I'll go to GDPR as we don't have that in this demo environment. Here we go. And so we can, same again, we can just select the controls that we want, click map to question library. And now we can browse the question library and look for the assessment and or questions that we're looking for. So I'm just going to go to GDPR. I think that's what the assessment template is called. Yep, and here it is. And so there I have all of my different questions. So I can select a question that I want and then map these, and all of these controls will map to that question for you. That's again a way of building out an assessment that you know then covers you for all of your different control sets as part of an internal assessment or compliance operation. Okay, the next thing then we can do is map your controls to findings. Again, if we have findings that are related to compliance or regulatory requirements, we can map them to findings in exactly the same process. And then the next interesting task that we can accomplish is we can do something called adding crosswalks. So one of the things you'll see in CyberOne is that we actually map all of our controls to related regulations. So I went into this new regulation, CMMC, which of course is the DoD regulation, level 1. And what I want to do is I know that the DoD has mapped these to different NIST and CIS controls, among others. And so I want to begin to do that overlay myself. So I can just select my first control here. I do add crosswalk. Now what I can do is I can search for the regulation that I'm looking for. Let's say I want to map it to my CIS control, or if I don't see the control I'm looking for here, I can search for the appropriate one. Here are my CSF controls. And then again, I can just add them here. And then when I map that, and I'll just do this to show you, now you'll see that I'm in, if I go back to the control library, I'm actually in that control record. But I was working on this control record, so I'll just click to reopen that. And now you can see we have a crosswalk section where that control is mapped. Here, along with a number of other crosswalk regulations that we've already mapped in. So let's go back to our control library again. And then the next function we want to show you is that we can also add controls directly to control activities. So some companies prefer to do this through the governance module for their policy and create internal controls and then connect control activities to internal controls, which themselves, as you saw earlier, are connected to this control library and into policies for that governance method of compliance. But other organizations who may not be quite as replete in their security and or may not have their policies in CyberOne but want to use this for compliance can actually just simply use the regulation, take the regulation here, and then we can start to create control activities similar to what we did for internal controls. Again, we just select the ones that we want. We do add to control activity, and again, that'll give us an option to verify here, and then we just click add to control activities, and that'll create new control activities for us in our compliance management tab. So I can show you here if I just do add. And now you'll see I can go into our compliance management and look at control activities. And if I go to CMMC, you'll see all of my control activities added here. Okay, so let's just come back to the control library one final time. So I'm just going to go back through policy management. And so then again, in the record itself, most of these functions are available. We can just go into the record and add it as a single internal control. We can see that it's mapped to different control activities, or we can create it as a control activity. We can create an internal, I think we already did that, create an internal control, and then we can add it to findings and or the question library. So all of those options that are available in the list view as a bulk option are available as a single option in the record too. And you'll see all of this mapped into the records too in the various sections. Okay, so that concludes our overview of the control library today. Thank you very much.